Welcome back to the channel. New year, first full video. I decided to rework an old script from 2021 and talk about a generally contentious episode of Doctor Who. I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment, so I may sound a little bit off compared to how I usually sound. Now, on with the video. The opening is weird. There's a lot of ambient shots of an empty hotel, which is meant to have a sense of unease. To be honest, it might have been if it hadn't led on to the Trump villain bullying a worker and firing her, who is later revealed to be Yaz's mum, which is great. It's always an intriguing thing to have family members of characters appear during the show. However, I feel like they could have expanded on this more and have Yaz's mum challenge him. I do think it's a quick fire way to establish how unpleasant this man is though. This episode is kind of an interesting one and was very reminiscent of something from Eccleston or Tennant's tenure as the Doctor. After all of the time travel blips, the Doctor is finally able to make sure the gang get back to their home in Sheffield. We see a very awkward and sad 13th Doctor think it's time to say goodbye to her new friends, similar to the likes of Rose, Martha and Donna, which I appreciate. It reminds the audience that they're real people with actual lives. Small moments like these are important as it naturally fleshes these characters out. It's good, despite how brief it is, even though beyond this point in this episode, it isn't really explored any further. The best scene and performance of this episode once again goes to Bradley Walsh, who is finally grieving over the loss of his wife Grace. He says so much through body movement and facial expressions. It is such a spectacle. I do wish more time was dedicated to this scene specifically. I think a step further would be Graham imagining a conversation with Grace, just to really push the pain he is exhibiting. This ends by tying into the main plot as there's a big dead spider corpse there with him. Well, the Doctor volunteered to pick up the family's parcel from a neighbour and discovers a big living spider in a flat covered in webs. I don't see the point in big spider plots. They're generally played out in pop culture. Not to mention the fact that both modern and classic Doctor Who have done this on several occasions. So far, the most interesting pieces have been nothing to do with the spider plot. On a positive note, the CGI for the spiders isn't all that terrible, I guess. The episode then cuts to a weird camera shot where a woman is being attacked by something and you can vaguely make out what it is in the screen of her cracked phone. This would have been intriguing had we not just seen big spiders running about. Imagine this is the first reference to these spiders. It would establish not only intrigue for the audience but highlight the more dangerous elements as well. There's such a dumb image on a map of all the spider locations leading to the centre of a visual web. Surprise, surprise, it's the fancy hotel. This isn't smart or special writing, it's a bit weak and uninspired. They're normal household spiders, they're not smart enough to send the Doctor a message using a drawn web on a map. It feels very plot convenient and almost mystical. Yes, the show had intelligent spiders in the past, but these are just common spiders to the UK, who accidentally became massive. While in the toilet,
We're cheering.
I mean fake Trump gets attacked by a massive spider that kills his aide. And to top it all off, he closes the door to protect himself as his aide gets brutally murdered. It's effective in proving his selfishness, but the introductory scene did that anyway. This potential plot suffers due to there being way too many characters in one scene. There's no balance or development. I think the best version of this episode is the fam alone in the hotel trying to deal with very large and confused spiders. It gives them chance to reflect on their travels with the Doctor so far while they decide what to do next. For the most part, it's pretty expected of the horror genre, being chased down corridors by hordes of larger than normal spiders, but that's it. We do get some personal moments or attempts at them, which is a nice change, but I think the issue is the acting. There's no believable chemistry or connection between Yaz and her mother, and both their line deliveries are terrible here, which is a shame as a concerned parent. Meeting the Doctor is always a very interesting thing. A lot of what should be larger character meets and interactions get glossed over by the sake of a boring plot and weak side characters. It is revealed that fake Trump builds his hotels on repurposed sites which has toxic waste dumped on it. That is what's causing the spiders to get really big. Basically mutant spiders, which is such a basic cop-out. The writer could have thought of something more unique and engaging than, it was toxic waste all along. Look, I do kind of like the idea that it was just something quite mundane to cause the spider's growth, especially if it tied into the resolution, but it just feels like poor reasoning. Instead of aiding plot resolution, it's just another bad thing that Robertson did. I think the main issues here is that the whole plot feels overly predictable, with a very forced message aimed at Trump and how he's problematic. Which is completely true, but why is a British science fiction series telling its audience that? It just sounds like Chris Chibnall has an issue with American politics. I guess there is an argument to be made that he's trying to reach a larger demographic, but then again, I enjoy fun sci-fi shows for the plot and characters, not the allegory for a US president. Robertson leads them into his panic room and suggests that they all grab some of his guns and take the spiders out, which the Doctor doesn't approve of. This effectively leads on to a debate about whether the spiders should be instantly killed with guns or left to starve, neither of which is ideal. I can understand not wanting to advocate the use of weaponry, but it's objectively a more merciful end than allowing them to suffocate. Ryan uses grunge music to lure the spiders, which is just cringy. They could have created the vibrations by having speakers face down on the floor, without music being heard or muffled at the least, but instead they have this cringe playing. I think if there was a stronger concrete link to Ryan's character being interested in pursuing music, or that he and Graham could bond over it, then it would work more. It just feels very out of place in quite a plain episode. It didn't mesh well at all. The biggest spider is too big to breathe due to his size and is panicking. The Doctor tries to give it sympathy, which is actually fairly believable, and then fake Trump shoots it and kills it, which he justifies by mercy killing. Again, 13 disapproves and is pretty annoyed at his actions. I know people debate the Doctor's morality in situations like this, and this is the moment people use to highlight how badly written 13 is. Oftentimes, where 10 or 11 have done morally questionable things, it tends to tie into a larger plot arc. Like the Doctor has spent too much time alone. To reiterate, they need someone to keep them grounded. The issue here is how inconsistent the 13th Doctor's morals are. Had this character travelled alone or experienced a recent personal loss, then it would have greater plot relevance. It still wouldn't be the best, but it would make a lot more sense overall. After the events, the gang decide to travel with her, for pretty much no reason. Despite, their jobs, family, college courses, they still hop on board with her. I think Graham is the only one who has real reason, wanting to get away for a while, as his flat reminds him too much of his now deceased wife. That being said, the Doctor gleefully calling them Team TARDIS was also incredibly cringe. Honestly, it made me wince a little. I don't like this episode very much. I think the whole spider thing has been played out for decades, and the whole toxic waste situation makes that cliche much worse. Once again, there were too many underdeveloped characters. I just think this one was kind of lazily written, an easy episode on the writer's part. Well, that's my thoughts anyway. I would love to hear what you think in comments down below. Let me know if you like this episode or dislike it and why. And if you do, then all the power to you. I'm not trying to discourage or upset anyone. If you would like to stay up to date with my content, then please hit that like button and subscribe. Well, I think I should go see a doctor for my sore throat. I'll catch you all very soon.